Director of the Swami Vivekananda Cultural Center at the Consulate General of India in Durban, Dr. Chaitanya Prakash Yogi, Nandan Goswami Maharaj Ji, Dr. Nardev Jagmohan Ji, Mr. Piyush Khandelwal Ji, Mr. Cheryl Banwarilal Ji, distinguished guests and online members. Welcome to today's auspicious program on Shri Krishna Janmashtami celebration, being understanding Krishna as a consciousness. Today, we will begin our program by showcasing a short video on the birth of Shri Krishna.
Krishna, Krishna, Shri Krishna.
That was indeed a very, very beautiful depiction of the birth of our beloved Shri Krishna. Joining us from South Africa is a medical doctor by profession, a philanthropist, humanitarian, and a social activist, Dr. Nardev Jagmohan. Remarks. Welcome, sir.
Hare Krishna, dear friends. Kindly accept my salutations and the blessings of our Divine Master, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, the founder Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Today's topic is a rather interesting and unusual one. What is the consciousness of Krishna? Normally, the question is asked as, what is Krishna consciousness? Meaning, how to become conscious of the Supreme Lord Krishna. However, today's topic is slightly different in that it specifically asks, what is the consciousness of Krishna? The word consciousness simply means awareness. The presence of consciousness indicates life, or in simple words, consciousness is one of the symptoms indicating the presence of the spirit soul. To understand the consciousness of Krishna, or at least some facets of the awareness of Krishna, because Krishna is the Supreme Lord and He's unlimited. So just to understand some aspects of this consciousness, let us turn to Bhagavad Gita. In the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, in chapter 4, in the beginning of chapter 4 of Bhagavad Gita, entitled Transcendental Knowledge, Bhagavan Shri Krishna speaks and says, Imam vivishvate yogam proktavam aham avyayam vivishwan manava praha manur ishvatave bhavit. Here, Krishna speaks and informs us that he has spoken this imperishable science of yoga to Vivishwan, the sun god. And the sun god then in turn spoke it to Manu, who in turn spoke it to Ikshvaku. So Arjuna is asking, how is this possible? Since the sun god Vivishwan is so much older than you are, Krishna. And then Krishna replies, Bahuni me vyati tani janmani tavacharjuna tani aham veda sarvani natvam veta parantapa. Many, many births both you and I have passed. I can remember all of them, but you cannot, O subduer of the enemy. In this verse, which is the 5th shlok of the 4th chapter, it is understood that some millions of years ago, Lord Krishna spoke the Bhagavad Gita to the sun god Vivishwan. Maharaj Ikshvaku, who is mentioned here, was a monarch in the Ravikul dynasty, the lineage of Lord Rama, who ruled over the earth planet in the early part of Treta Yuga, and that is calculated to be around 2 million years ago. Now, Bhagavad Gita is again being spoken by Krishna to Arjuna at the end of Dwapara Yuga, approximately 5,000 years ago. The Lord is described in the Brahma Samhita as Achyuta, that means infallible, one who never forgets himself, even though he may be in material contact. Krishna remembers acts which were performed by him millions of years before. But Arjuna could not, despite the fact that both Krishna and Arjuna are eternal in nature. We may also note that a living entity forgets everything due to his change of the body. But the Lord remembers because he does not change his pure Sachit Ananda transcendental body. He is Advaita, which means there is no distinction between his body and himself. Everything in relation to him is spirit, whereas the conditioned soul only is spirit and the enveloping body is made of matter. Since the Lord's body and his self are identical, his position is always different from that of the ordinary living entity, even when he descends to this material platform. Krishna speaks in this verse about the transcendental peculiarity of his birth. Although he may appear like an ordinary person, he remembers everything of his many, many past births, whereas a common man cannot remember what he has done even a few hours ago. And yet, we find some unscrupulous men often dare claim to be God or Krishna. One should never be misled by such meaningless and shameless rascals. Krishna says, although I am unborn and my transcendental body never deteriorates, and although I am the Lord of all living entities, I still appear in every millennium in my original transcendental form. Ajo api sam avyatmatma bhutanam ishvaro apishan prakritim swamadhistaya sambhavami atmamayaya. Here Krishna is saying that he appears in his own body. He does not change his body as the common living entities change from one body to another. The conditioned soul may have one kind of body in the present birth, but he has a different body in the next birth. In the material world, the living entity has no fixed body, but transmigrates from one body to another. The Lord, however, is very different. Whenever he appears, he manifests in the same original body by his internal potency called Yoga Maya. In other words, Krishna appears in this material world in his original eternal form. He appears exactly in his eternal body, uncontaminated by this material world. Although he appears in the same transcendental body and is the Lord of the universe, it still appears that he takes birth like an ordinary living entity. And although his body does not deteriorate like a material body, it still appears that Lord Krishna grows from childhood to youth to boyhood and so on. But astonishingly enough, he never ages beyond youth. At the time of the battlefield of Kurukshetra, Krishna already had many grandchildren at home. Still, he looked just like an ordinary young man of 20 or so years of age. We never find a picture of Krishna as an old man with wrinkled skin and gray hair, because he never grows old like us, even though he is the oldest person in the whole creation. Neither his body nor his intelligence ever deteriorates or changes. Therefore, in spite of his being in the material world, he is the same unborn, eternal form of bliss and knowledge, changeless in his transcendental body and intelligence. Krishna's appearance and disappearance are like the rising of the sun. It's moving before us and then disappears from our eyesight. When the sun is out of sight, we think that the sun has set. And when the sun is before our eyes, we think the sun is on the horizon. Actually, the sun is always in its own fixed orbital position. But owing to our defective and limited sensory perception, we calculate the appearance and disappearance of the sun in the sky. The Vedas also confirm that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is unborn, yet he still appears to take birth in a multitude of manifestations. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, the crown jewel of all the Puranas and the Vedas, it is stated that Krishna appears before his mother Devaki as Narayan with 4 hands, carrying a conch, mace, chakra, and a flower, a lotus flower. He is fully grown with long black curling hair, cascading under an opulent helmet, and is wearing fine ornaments with a long garland of fresh, fragrant flowers. This is how the Supreme Lord appears. The transcendental secret of his appearance in his original eternal form is his causeless mercy, bestowed upon the living entities so that they can concentrate on the Supreme Lord as he is. This also avoids the pitfalls of the speculations of the monists, the impersonalists, and the other unauthorized commentators on Bhagavad Gita. The word used in this shloka, Maya or Atma Maya, refers to the Lord's causeless mercy as it is defined in the Vishwakosha dictionary. The Lord is conscious of all his previous appearances and disappearances. But a common living entity forgets everything about his past body as soon as he gets another body. He is the Lord of all living entities because he performs wonderful and superhuman activities while he is on this earth planet. Now tell me, who can carry a mountain, and that on the little finger of his left hand at the tender age of 7? Who can kill demons like Trinavarta and Putana as a baby? Who can display this Virat Roop, the universal form revealed to Arjuna in the 11th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, wherein the entire universe is manifest together with the past, present, and future, as well as all the 33 million demigods, in which the Supreme Lord is simultaneously demonstrating the entire material creation being within him, yet at the same time, he and Arjuna are outside that creation. This is God. Therefore, the Lord is always the same absolute truth and is without differentiation between his form and his self, or between his qualities and his body, or between his consciousness and himself. Krishna's consciousness is revealed in the purpose of his descent to this material realm. His consciousness is suffused with love. He has come to share the joy of the spiritual world, to remind us how to become happy by the extraordinary display of his pastimes. Whose heart does not melt when baby Krishna steals butter? And whose mind is not enthralled by his dancing? And who is not enraptured by the love Mother Yashoda displays for her Lala? And who is not impressed by the succinct and eloquent distillation of the Vedas in the Bhagavad Gita? The central message of the Bhagavad Gita is to always remember Krishna and never forget him. On this auspicious Krishna Janmashtami, whilst the world is precariously reeling from one calamity to another, I wish you all the realization of the futility of trying to make this temporary realm a permanent fixture in your lives, and to turn inwardly towards redirecting and reawakening one's natural loving propensity for Krishna, and become thereby submerged in an ocean of ecstasy. Krishna comes to claim us all back and show us the way. This is the splendor of his sublime consciousness. I wish you and your loved ones a very happy Janmashtami. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Thank you so much for your very enlightening remarks, Dr. Nardev Jagmohan. It really deeply inspired us all today. Pressing on back to Durban is and entrepreneur, Mr. Piyush Khandelwal, for his remarks.
Namaste to everyone. I am among a learned group of people who are far more knowledgeable on the philosophies of Bhagwan Krishna and Bhagavad Gita and his teachings. But therefore, it will not be right thing for me to make any attempt to get into that trajectory. But I would share my own understanding of Lord Krishna and how his teachings are still relevant in today's society. So these are very practical things which I learn because I hail from Vrindavan. So I understand for us Krishna is an emotion. So we always look for solutions from Lord Krishna and his life and his leelas. So we'll just give a background that how Lord Ram is considered to be the ideal son, an ideal husband, an ideal king. He's also known as Maryada Purushottam. But in the contrast, Lord Krishna is a happy-go-lucky. He's a happy God whose colorful array of experiences in life teaches us what to do at difficult situations in life. So that's how Krishna becomes very relevant force in today's day and age. From his childhood days, Bhagwan Krishna displayed superior communication and negotiation skills to deal with people, both friends and his enemies. His famous line, "Main nahi makhan khayo," to convince his own mother and escape punishment. So that's how he shows, even with your mother, you can get away from your punishments if you just use the right kind of phrases. So the communication skills which he brings to all of us, it's phenomenal. There are many other instances where he influences friends to take part in his mischiefs. So he could collaborate, he could make his own set of people, an army of people, and do all sorts of mischief in Gokul and Vrindavan. Later, as an ambassador of Pandavas in the court of Kauravas, where he used his communication and negotiation and diplomatic skills to avoid war, despite knowing that the war was inevitable. War was supposed to happen so that the good can prevail over evil. So he uses his skill to make Duryodhana afraid of Pandava's strength and fighting skills. So how you create a panic in front of your enemy, it is also something which can be learned from Bhagwan Krishna. He also used psychology for the opportune moment when he had to weaken Karna, because he knew that it's not easy for Arjun to defeat Karna. So he used his skills to make him weak, telling him the secret of his birth. So it affects and it confuses him while fighting Arjuna. In the sense, Lord Krishna is also one of the greatest corporate communicators who know exactly what to communicate, when, and how with every one of the stakeholders. Lord Krishna is also an excellent politician. I often, because my interest lies in politics, and I always say that if anybody want to become big in politics, he must follow Lord Krishna closely, and he knows how exactly he has to deal with complicated issues in a very simplistic form. As a king with a mighty army, he never invaded any kingdom. Even though his Narayani Sena could defeat Jarasandh when he attacked Mathura 18 times, Krishna eventually left Mathura and fled to Dwarka. He went all the way on to the western coast of the country and also got the title of Ranchhod Das, which is also a demeaning kind of title if you look at in literal terms, where it means he flees the battlefield. But it was needed to avoid unnecessary loss of lives. It was not worth to fight that battle, so he did a retreat. Even today, tactical retreat is an accepted military strategy. Krishna was valorous. Krishna in his childhood fought demoness like Putna, who tried to poison him, drove away the monstrous Kali and Nag in Vrindavan, Kali there, lifted Govardhan Parvat with his little finger to protect the people of Brajdham from the pouring rain. Later on, he fought himself and assisted others in fighting the injustices caused by Kans, Jarasandh, Kauravas, many other. He was also conscious about his duty towards society. Releasing the 16,000 princesses from Narakasur's prison would not be accepted from the society. So he himself married all of them and gave them the refuge and gave them the dignity which they needed. The essence of management, getting things done through people efficiently and effectively when it comes to it. Krishna out as one of the greatest CU and crisis manager of all the times. This is something which I always admire because I come from the management background and I understand the management skills which Lord Krishna, Bhagwan Krishna gave us. So how he manages to tell Arjun to do his job. He told him that you are a Kshatriya, you need to fight a battle. So he made sure all his weaknesses have been taken care. He answered all his questions, but he made sure that Arjun puts up a fight. He could do it himself and he could finish everybody on his own. But no, he wanted to teach us a lesson where he tells that, okay, I will show you the path. You need to do the job. I am here to give you all the answers, but not going to solve your problems or not going to do the job for you. So he delegates. He did not pick up his weapons himself, but instead makes his team perform their respective tasks. Controlling an army of 1.53 million soldiers and warriors of the Pandava army to fight and win against a bigger army could not have been easy. His disciple, Abhimanyu, he was a fearless warrior. So he created that kind of warriors and he imparts the knowledge to his team. Being God, Krishna could have accomplished everything himself single-handedly, but taken all the credit. But probably that's what leadership all about, not to hog the limelight to yourself, but to make it a teamwork. Give the credit to your team. And one of the teachings that is so relevant today, considering the epidemic which we are facing and the business need for survival, change is the law of the universe. You can be a millionaire or a pauper in an instant. He's a polite and humble. During the Rajasuya sacrificial fire of the Pandavas, Krishna washed the feet of the Brahmins and even cleared up leftovers of food in other plates. Krishna is an ideal friend. That is something which you all need to look for uh, right now, where friendship is not linked with any cause or um, any outcome, but he was a friend without any expectations. Krishna affectionately welcomed his stricken childhood friend Sudama. Even till date, we talk about Krishna Sudama friendship when we talk of the examples of real friends. He became the ruler of Dwarka, but he never forgot Sudama when he came to him. He gave him all the due respect, gave him all the money he needed, but he always helped his friend. Even with Pandavas, he took a stand with Pandavas for his friendship. He was there to help Draupadi when she was in need, when Chiraran was taking place. So he came forward and helped Draupadi and gave her the magical sari so she could save herself. One more thing which we all need to learn from Krishna is the role of a student and a guru. So he learned everything from Lord Sandipanam. He mastered the art of 64 sciences and arts, 64 yoginis, and just by hearing everything once from Rishi Sandipani, upon the completion of their studies, as a Guru Dakshina or tuition fees, Sri Krishna and Balaram fought with demon Chankasur and Yamraj to bring Sandipani's dead son to life. How many disciples today will go to such an extent for the sake of their Guru and his family? As a teacher, Lord Krishna taught to the supreme truth of yoga, bhakti, Vedanta to Arjuna and Uddhava. Krishna proves himself to be the ideal teacher and gurus of all the gurus. He patiently answers some of the 700 questions in the battlefield of Kurukshetra over 18 council sessions to allow Arjuna to spell out his doubts confusion and emotional trauma before giving his own logic and reasoning. Krishna never forced Arjun to believe what he says without being convinced about it. That is the greatest quality of a teacher. He's the ideal father because when his own sons behaved unrighteous, he himself slew them during the battle of Yadus. So there's umpteen number of examples from Krishna's life. Even there's a lot to be said about his death. He himself was a god. He was considered god, but he never took anything. He never brought any ego or any pride in front. When Gandhari cursed him, he took the curse from her because he knew that that is a mother's curse. So he did not oppose to it, but he accepted it and lived with it. So there are, being the god, he stayed away from the trap of ego. He stayed away from the trap of um, slightest, to have the self-centered image. So he always helped others. He always gave the dignity to others. So that's what make him a Bhagwan. That's what make all of us worship him even today. Therefore, Krishna's life tells us to celebrate life, live fully, helps those in need, and hopefully then we all can smile like Krishna, for we would have fulfilled our life's purpose. Thank you so much from my side.
Thank you so much for that very knowledgeable remarks. We're teaching us we could learn so much from Bhagwan Shri Krishna in all aspects of life. Crossing over through Vrindavan, India, is Gaudiya Pitadishwar Shri Chandan Goswami Maharaj Ji. Is the 14th in the Guru lineage of the Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself. He belongs to the ancient Sri Radha Raman temple in the holy town of Vrindavan. Following Mahaprabhu's example, he shows the unwavering dedication to Mahaprabhu's mission of sacred love. Chandan Maharaj Ji's teachings are simple and full of sweetness and purity of grudge, like that of the gopis' love for Shri Krishna. He travels extensively, delivering talks on spirituality, and he has created many devotional communities worldwide. He is known also for many written books and articles on the subject of Bhakti Yoga. We welcome Shri Chandan Goswami Maharaj Ji.
Thank you, thank you, thank you for welcoming. रासेश्वरं रासकरं वरं रासेश्वरीश्वरं रसाधीष्ठात्रदेवं च वन्दे रासविनोदिनं। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। I pay my heartfelt pranams to the Lord that resides within my heart, to Dr. C.P. Yogi ji, to the SVCC, and to the Consulate Journal of India, Durban, and to the respected speakers and the viewers. I extend my gratitude to all of you for inviting me to speak on this very auspicious day. I have been asked to share some insight into the subject of understanding Krishna as consciousness. But it's a little funny because my consciousness or awareness, as what Dr. Naradev ji said, that the consciousness is awareness. And the moment I got the invitation from Durban, my awareness took me to Bunny Chow, that dish which I used to enjoy when I used to visit Durban and Pietermaritzburg. So let's begin. Our hearts are saying, I want to be filled with love. This is a part of our consciousness which want to experience emotions and connection on a deeper level. To understand Krishna as consciousness, we need a special type of love too. Why only love? Many demons like Duryodhan, Kans, Bakasur, Aghasur, Saktasur, Vrittasur, Putna, and so forth had an audience with Krishna, but they didn't understand his true self, him as the supreme consciousness. Why? Because they didn't have love for him. So now the question arises, what should I do to get the love to know Krishna? In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna describes 4 paths with practices that allow us to understand him as the supreme consciousness. First, Karma Yoga, the path of action. Second, Raja Yoga, the path of meditation or energy. The third one, Jnana Yoga, the path of knowledge. And the fourth one, Bhakti Yoga, the path of devotion or emotions. We want to connect to and know God on a divine level, but often we don't know how to, or we don't know what type of yoga is more suitable for us to do this. For example, we want to buy a t-shirt, just a small t-shirt like we wear, but we haven't seen one that we already like. We visit many shops, we go to so many different trial rooms in front of mirror, we walk on the aisle or in a cabin and spend a great deal of energy, but we may not find what we are looking for. Yet a person who knows which t-shirts he wants and where to get it from will waste less time. In both cases, the goal is the same, to buy a t-shirt. So the 4 paths are like the different shops we can go to, and they all offer different options. We may follow the practices of Karma Yoga by performing yajnas, doing charitable works, and so forth. In return, we get the temporary rewards of our actions. We may follow the practices of Raj Yoga by doing deep breathing, yoga postures, and meditations. In return, we connect to the supreme energy, light, Paramatma. We may follow the practices of Jnana Yoga by gaining knowledge of ourself and the supreme self, that the formless God. In return, we connect to Krishna's formless form. Or we may practice Bhakti Yoga by performing Kirtan, worshipping Krishna in a different form. In return, we fill our hearts with love and connect to Krishna's heart and soul. In the Bhagavad Gita, in 11th chapter, 54th of verse, Krishna states, Bhaktya to nanya shakya ahme Van vidhorjunah gyatum drastum cha tatvena pravastum cha prayantapa. O Arjun, by single-minded devotion alone can I be known as I am standing before you. Similarly, the 15th century saint Teresa of Avila says, Amor saka amor, that love begets love. So the residents of Krishna's birthplace, Vrindavan, Mathura, Braj, knew that the practice of Bhakti Yoga was the shortcut. Just like the person who knows exactly which t-shirt he wants and which shop to go to. These residents attained the love that allowed them to connect with their heart and soul to his heart and soul and attain the highest form of love. The connection of our soul, Atma, to the Supreme Soul, Krishna, Paramatma, and Krishna's soul is Shri Radha. Skanda Purana says, Atma tu Radhika Tasya. Krishna's heart and soul is Shri Radha. And Narada Bhakti Sutra, Sutra 2nd, says, Sa tasmin param prem rupa. That love is Radharani. Param prem rupa is the another name of Radharani. So Shri Radha, in Shri Radharani is the goddess of love. In Devi Bhagavad, there is the 5 types of goddesses are mentioned. The first one is Savitri. She is the goddess of Vedas. Second one is the goddess Lakshmi, who is the goddess of wealth. Third one is goddess Durga, who is the goddess of strength. Fourth one is the goddess Saraswati. She is the goddess of buddhi, gyan, knowledge. And the fifth one is mentioned, Shri Radha. She is the goddess of love. So the followers of Radha Krishna worship Krishna to connect with his soul, Radha. And they worship Radha because she is the goddess of love. And by the grace of this love, one can understand and see Krishna as he is and know him as he is. So when we learn to love Krishna with Radha more than we love ourselves, we understand Krishna as but pure love or Radha. And this is what any demons or all the Kauravas who were even hearing Bhagavad Gita directly from Shri Krishna in Kurukshetra couldn't understand. So for me, as what I have collected or gathered or got from all my gurus or all the residents of Vrindavan, all the Brajvasis, all the saints, for them, the Krishna as consciousness, the topic is, but for us, that consciousness is none other than Radha, Shri Radharani. So on the wonderful occasion of Janmashtami, I would like to say to our viewers that Lord Krishna has given us a very beautiful gift. He appeared on this earth with his soul, Radha, which he didn't do in any of his previous incarnations. He came as Narsinga, Vamana, Narada, but he did not, even he came as Ram, but he did not bring Radharani with him. But when he came as Krishna, he brought his soul on this very earth, Radha. So may Radha bless us. May Krishna's that consciousness, that true love, bless us with the love which can bring harmony on this earth and within during this difficult time and fill our hearts with nothing but love. Thank you. Radhe Radhe.
Thank you so much, Maharaj Ji, for that insightful remark and teaching us the core essence of love and consciousness. To conclude today's program, I would like to call upon my colleague, Ms. Cheryl Banwarilal, to render this very auspicious vote of thanks.
On behalf of the Swami Vivekananda Culture Center at the Consulate General of India in Durban, I would like to express our deep gratitude and appreciation and say a very huge thank you to Dr. Naradev Jagmohan. I would like to express our deep gratitude and appreciation to Khandewal. I would like to express our deep gratitude and say thank you to Sri Chandan Goswami Maharaj Ji. I would like to say a huge thank you to Dr. Chaitanya Prakash Yogi, Director of the Swami Vivekananda Culture Center in Durban. I would like to say a huge thank you to Ms. Shristi Harinarayan for always being our lovely MC. Lastly, I would like to say a huge thank you to you, our online guests. Stay home and stay safe. Thank you.